Hello there, and welcome to the Lesser Known Tech channel. Today, we found what can be termed as a bit of a unicorn, a homegrown desi gaming peripheral company that calls itself, wait for it, Ninjadog. It seems to have been launched rather recently and has spotted a mobile gaming controller named the Astra one. Could not find any reviews before ordering it, so naturally I was a bit wary. Nonetheless, I decided to give it a chance given the low price that it was being offered at pre-launch. So here we are. Let's get into the unboxing. Overall, the initial presentation looks quite impressive. The packaging feels premium, and so do the inserts and the manual. The manual in particular seems very different from the usual booklets that come with such products. What's more is that the quality of the technical writing also seems better than average. Now, all of this seems like a sign of good things to come. Let's see if the actual product holds up to expectations. Apart from the manual and other notes, the only other item that's included is this fairly basic USB-A to Type-C cable. The device itself charges over Type-C, although it's a shame that Ninjadog did not choose to include a charger. But I suppose the Type-C charging makes up for it. The grip itself is spring-loaded, and the clamping edges have a soft pad to help avoid any scratches on the phone. Moving on, it's time to test this little guy out with an iPhone running iOS 16. Now, the Astra one does need to be set to the right mode at the time of initial pairing, and the quick start insert here says that I need to initiate the device with power and B. So let's give that a try. The Astra one seems to be presenting itself as a MFI DualShock 4 controller to the operating system, as you can see. And now it says connected, so it's time to verify the presence of the controller under the iOS game controller settings. Perfect. So it does show up as a DualShock controller, which means that it should hopefully work with all apps, including PlayStation Remote Play. Perfect. So it did work really well with Asphalt 8. So time to kick things up a notch and try out PlayStation Remote Play. Bear in mind that this is a tricky test, as a lot of controllers, including my favorite Nikon MGX Pro, do not work with Remote Play at all. And I'm not quite sure what the reason is, but it's probably because Sony has mandated that only their controllers and probably a select few can work for active usage on PlayStation Remote Play. And what would you know? It's connected and it does seem to be working as expected. Time to give Horizon Forbidden West a try. On a side note, guys, if you do have a PlayStation 4 or a 5, please do give this a try, because I think this is one of the easiest ways of experiencing AAA gameplay on a handheld. Time to test out the Astra One with an Android phone now. I'm going to use an app called Gamepad Tester to check for the accuracy of the analog sticks and to see what dead zones, if any, do exist. So for the first step, I tested the analog sticks for any issues with movement or accuracy. As expected from the experience during actual gameplay, the objective tests also do not reveal any shortcomings. For the next test, we looked for the presence of any dead zones around the center position and also for any deviations from a return to the center when released. Now this test in particular can be quite tricky, and I'll admit that I'm quite surprised that the Astra One behaved rather admirably on this metric too. The last set of objective tests was to check for any issues with either the smoothness of the stick movement and also to look for any issues with the triggers. Happy to note that I did not find any issues on this front either. That's all on the objective tests. Now, for my subjective opinion on how it compares against some of the other controllers that I have used in the past. Now, the Nikon MGX is from a different segment altogether, so we can probably skip that. Moving on to my old favorite, the Razer Kishi. I think that Razer definitely scores better on the build and the plastics. However, the Astra One does perform as well, if not better, on the analog sticks, and subjectively so, maybe the buttons. Bear in mind that the Kishi is a wired model, and even though the newer Bluetooth stacks have very low latency, a wired setup will yield even lower response delays. On the flip side, wired models will typically not work with a phone that's enclosed in a case, and that can be a big usability drawback for some. One thing that stood out for the Astra One though are the two programmable back buttons. Recording key combos, for instance, used during gameplay can be a literal game changer, especially for fighting games and brawlers. As for the GameSir X2, I wish I could have said better things. But other than the premium grip and feel, there isn't much to be said about it. I often have issues while aiming with the GameSir, and as a big fan of the range shooter genre, and of first-person shooters too, that's a big deal breaker for me. So for my final thoughts, I have to say that there's quite a lot to like about the Astra One. The sticks were great, the ergonomics are good, the triggers are fine, and while analog triggers for the right and the left trigger buttons would have been great, they're not a deal breaker, and at least for me, the programmable rear triggers more than make up for it. It also seems to work across almost every platform I tested it with, from a PC to a Mac to iPads to Androids, and the only device it didn't work with is a direct connection to a PlayStation 5. The quality of the plastics could certainly have been better, but given the price point it comes at, I think I'm probably nitpicking. The only serious drawback that I felt it does have is a lack of analog triggers. Having analog triggers can be quite useful in some racing games and other similar genres. I will also say that it's quite refreshing to see a fair-priced gaming peripheral from a local house. I'm now actually looking forward to their next peripheral release because I am a sucker for a good value proposition. And the Astra One certainly represents one. Thank you for watching, and until next time.